we've made some really regrettable mistakes during our time RVing. The first one is on my brand new van. The second time we had it out, I broke the awning, the $1,000 or $2,000 awning. I broke it. And what happened was the awning was out and the wind came up. Now these awnings, normally they automatically go in, but the wind came up really strong and it went whap, whap, whap. And the awning went in crooked.
Well, the wind picked it up at an abnormal angle and whipped it a couple times, bounced it, which in turn bent the housing and the awning arms, so then it wouldn't go in. We couldn't hardly get it in. Had to get a strap to put around it to hold it closed till we could get home. Then when I got home, tried to straighten it. I got it semi-straight, but now if we use the awning, we have to help it come out. It doesn't come out on its own.
So word to the wise, if the wind comes up, get your awning in quick and don't ever leave your awning out when you're gone.
Yes, and just don't depend on the automatic retraction when it senses wind, because the wind came up so fast that the sensor just couldn't close it fast enough.
So another thing that we did was we jackknifed the casita and dented the tailgate on the truck.
Yes, that was my fault. I was watching the trailer, trying to watch it on both sides, trying to make a sharp turn to get into I don't even remember if it was a campsite or what it was, but anyway, I didn't take into account the Stromberg Carlson tray we had on the front, and that tray put a dent in the tailgate.
But we also did another thing. We made a sharp U-turn and hit a sign, right?
Yes. So I think we were in, was it Montana?
Yeah.
We were in Montana, started going the wrong direction, needed to make a U-turn. The road we were on was like a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, maybe more, but it had a steep drop-off on both sides of the blacktop, so there was no shoulder, basically. I thought I could make it with the trailer, started to whip a U-turn, jackknifed the trailer so I couldn't back up, I could only go forward, and there was cars coming in both directions at high speed, so I had to just continue on through the turn. Well, I ended up scraping a mile marker and tearing off the corner of the front bumper and part of the fender flare. But it was either that or worry about getting in an accident with another vehicle.
And that's because we were going the wrong way. So, and I said, we're going the wrong way. So kind of freaked him out a little bit, and he made a quick U-turn that wasn't so good.
Right, I should have just drove, a mile or two up the road, whatever it took, to where it was the wider spot to turn around.
But one of the things that I did in the casita, I didn't close the refrigerator door all the way. And so you can imagine what happened, right? We open up the casita and there is stuff all over the floor. What a mess. Stuff spilled on the floor. Almost all the contents of the refrigerator were on the floor. So, your refrigerator, make sure you push it all the way in so that it snaps. Most of them have a first closure and a second closure, and then once it snaps in, then you're good to go. But double check your refrigerator before you leave.
Okay, one of the things I did was I didn't get the 7-pin connector all the way plugged in the tow vehicle, and it came out while we were driving. I didn't know it, and we dragged it for who knows how long. But by the time I realized it wasn't plugged in, the round connector was no longer round. It was completely worn in half. And nobody bothered to tell us that as we were traveling down the road, honked their horn to warn us or anything. But this probably could have been prevented if I made sure it was plugged in more securely where the lid helps hold it in. And the other thing is looking at the indicator for the trailer brake that shows you that it is connected, because on our vehicle, the trailer brake indicator, you can't see it while you're driving without cocking your head a little bit. But so now I check that more frequently.
one of the things that I did was I overflowed the black tank in the Scamp. So the Scamp that we had a very small black tank. I think it was either 5 or 9 gallons, really small. And the vent was on the side of the Scamp instead of, most vents are on the top, but in this case it was on the side. And I had never been in an RV before we got the Scamp, and so I didn't really know a lot about RVing or about the Scamp or about the black tank. So what happened was I had the toilet open while using the shower, and that filled up the black tank really quickly. So we were camped at a campsite near where I was working, because I was working out of town. And so I left for work, and then Doug was kind of left with a mess.
Right. I didn't know anything about it. I was actually sitting in front of the Scamp, kind of like I'm sitting right now, and all of a sudden, what the heck's that smell? I thought, man, somebody's sewer's not closed or something. But so I walk around the back of the trailer, and it has this louvered vent for the toilet on the side at about eye level when you're sitting in a chair. And all I see is a brown streak with like liquid gurgling out, coming out of that vent onto the ground. I thought, oh no, that's kind of weird. It must be an airlock or something. I go look in the toilet, and there was so much in the toilet that when I opened the flapper, it actually, I don't know if it's the heat or what, but it made it actually come up back into the bowl. So I thought, oh no, that's pretty bad. And so, and there's no indicator on the Scamp. There's no level indicator. You just have to basically look inside to see how full it is. So anyway, I'm thinking, oh boy, this is going to be exciting, trying to get it over to the dump station. I mean, fortunately, there's a dump station at the campground. But I thought, boy, I better get over to the dump station before the campground booth checks in, or the ranger checks in at the booth to check people in, because I had to drive by there to get to it. Well, as I'm driving through the campground, I could see in the side view mirror liquid coming out of the side of the trailer every time no matter how slow I went, it was still coming out and leaving a trail through the campground leading from our campsite. Anyway, I finally got to the dump station and was able to get it dumped out. But yeah, that's one of those things, you'll do it once and you'll probably never do that again. Make sure it never happens.
It never happened again. Whenever we get ready to leave camp, Doug always reminds me to close the roof vent. And we've left it open a couple times, but there's a reason why.
Yes, in a previous RV, before I met Kristen, I left the roof vent up, and it was like straight up. Well, by the time I got to camp with it, the plastic was completely gone. And of course, we were going to the ocean at the time, and it was raining. So get to the ocean, go to close the roof vent, and there isn't one. So ever since then, you double check it. So one of the other things, this has happened to me more than once, I'd say twice, in over 40 years of towing. Not getting the tongue jack all the way raised up. I've done use the tongue jack to level when you disconnect your tow vehicle, but when you're hooking it back up and putting on the weight distribution, you're raising the jack up and down and so forth and so on. And anyway, a couple times I forgot to raise that all the way back up and start to pull away. Well, I hear the scraping, so I immediately stopped. By that time, the tongue jack was going like this, so I'd bent the coupler where it mounts. So anyway, I thought with one time would be enough for the lesson, but I had to do it twice to make sure that I really learned that lesson, to make sure that's up. And the other thing is the stabilizing jacks at the back of the casita. They're the kind of like tent trailer ones that just flip down and ratchet. Anyway, I've in certain situations where you don't really need them that much, like you're on level ground, and so you just put them down just so the trailer doesn't bounce when you're getting in and out of bed. But under those situations where it's not really carrying any weight, I've forgotten to lift that up till I went to pull away, and same thing, heard a scraping sound. But at least, you know, in that instance, I was able to immediately stop and raise them up, you know, before any damage was done.
So those are the 9 mistakes that we've made.
Yeah, so hopefully you don't make them too. At least limit it to 8.
We're letting you know so you don't make those mistakes too.
But just so you know, mistakes always happen. It's just one of those things. We've got now where we kind of have a procedure. So Kristen pretty much takes care of everything on the inside of the trailer, and I take care of everything on the outside. So that way, if something breaks, we know who to blame.